Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Cobern, and today's episode, I figured to do a quick one-off episode about Anquan Boldin. Is Anquan Boldin a Hall of Famer? This is a question, sort of suggestion I've got from a lot of different viewers because I recently did an Anquan Boldin analytics profile, basically profiling, his production and all that kind of stuff from college. And there was a couple people who asked me, is he a Hall of Famer? Do you think he's a Hall of Famer? This has been kind of a question that's been going around, and there have been some people who say that he's the Hall of Very Good and all this kind of stuff. But as you know, I recently got done with a big gathering project, data project in terms of market share data at the wide receiver position, and from 1969 total. And this is basically how the methodology works. So I got all the data in terms of market share on every single wide receiver since 1969. I also added filters. So I added era adjusted filters, which basically tells you how productive they were for the era in which they played. I added strength of schedule filters, which basically gave you a higher score. So like if you played a tough strength of schedule relative to your peers, which is from Pro Football Reference as well, that's where I got that strength of schedule number from. Then if they played a tough strength of schedule and they had a lot of production as well, they got a higher score as well. And when I did this methodology, Anquan Boldin did not actually perform that badly. He had 7 top 10 percentile finishes in terms of 90 plus percentile finishes in terms of his data profile, which is pretty good. I mean, it's pretty decent, at least for that kind of thing. And on top of that, what really helps him out as well is he had 5 top 10 percentile finishes where strength of schedule was also really tough. So basically, when you add both those things up, the number of 90 plus percentile finishes he had and the number of 90 plus percentile finishes he had relative to his strength of schedule, you get a number of 12. And when you compare that to every other wide receiver's scoring, Anquan Boldin did pretty dang well. 12 is a top 20 wide receiver, guys. And scoring at 12 is a top 20 wide receiver. So this is basically how he did. If you look, these are all the wide receivers that scored in the top 20, and basically how they score. It basically shows how many finishes they had and how they scored with the methodology. And Anquan Boldin, if you just go by the methodology of how many 90 plus percentile finishes you have, and also how many strength of schedule finishes that were in the 90 plus percentile, Anquan Boldin pretty much is a top 20 wide receiver since 1969 when it comes to his data. So, I mean, does that make him a Hall of Famer? I mean, that's a totally different, question to ask, because there's lots of different politics, there's lots of different sort of things that go into that. But I do think that if you just look at him from a data perspective, purely from how to measure what makes a great wide receiver. In my opinion, what makes a great wide receiver is production, of course, being a productive player, but also how well you perform against tough strengths of schedule. If you're able to be really productive or perform well against a tough strength of schedule, that also says something about you as a player as well. And I think if you factor both those things in, how many high-end, seasons you've had in terms of production, but on top of that, how many seasons you've had that were against a really tough strength of schedule, and how you performed against that strength of schedule should also factor into things. And if you factor both those things in, then Anquan Boldin actually is a Hall of Fame wide receiver. So let me know in the comment section below. Do you think Anquan Boldin is a Hall of Fame wide receiver? What are some of your arguments for and against them? Again, this is just a data, perspective. This isn't really getting into all the other variables to add in to make a case for a guy. But I think if you do look at the data and the methodology involved, I do think you should come away at least being more impressed with him than you might have originally have been. But yeah, let me know below what you guys think. Is Anquan Boldin a Hall of Famer in your eyes? And again, my name is James Cobern. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well if anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.